So it's our dream come true to have Fujiko and Cildo with us here with such amazing project, and that was something which came up in very early conversations at the beginning when we had the first meeting here, that it would be a dream for us to have both of you realize a project here at Beyeler. And I wanted to begin, Fujiko, with you, because we actually in a very early conversation thought how amazing it could be to have your work with folk almost connect everything, and we thought it could somehow be the connection between many different works, that at the same time really a piece which is on the entire campus of Beyeler. We met for the first time many, many years ago when we worked on the Yokohama Triennial, together also with Beatrix Roof, who is here, and together also with Daniel Birnbaum. Peter Fischli was involved in that show, and he met you there. We're going to hear from Peter later here. And but I met your work, or encountered your work much earlier, and it was actually through our friend Arata Isozaki, the late architect, who, when I met him in the early 90s, gave me a book of your father's work, of the snow crystals, the amazing photographs through a microscope of the snow crystals. And actually, Arata told me that I should be familiar with your work and with these amazing visionary fog pieces you have been doing ever since Osaka, really. And I wanted to ask you to tell us, because we spoke yesterday, how it all began. Because you came to art and you were painting clouds, and then you had this encounter with Billy Kluwer and experiments in art and technology, and Rauschenberg and Robert Whitman. And as many of you know, they did this extraordinary, legendary Pepsi Pavilion, bringing art, science, engineering together. And you were not only a coordinator of this project, but also a participating artist. And in a way, it's through this process that you came from painting clouds to your first fog pieces. Can you tell us about the genesis of this amazing work?
I didn't want to be hanging on the wall. I became, it was the time when people went out on the street reaching out to the world instead of just in the art world. And since I couldn't perform or do anything else, I became very interested in the temperature difference, making a lot of phenomena that I was also interested in the performances, and I wanted to work with the temperature, what you can do, and that's when I started making the cloud. The reason is that in the cloud, the evaporation, the living of evaporation means the droplets are dying. The life and death process happening at the same time. Like evaporation uses latent heat to evaporate, and it cools the air because evaporation takes the heat, and at the same time, condensation process is happening because the temperature is going down by losing heat to evaporate. So it was like a life cycle of being born and dying at the same time in this cloud. And I was painting the cloud in in the live process of being born and dying at the same time, simultaneously, which I was trying to work with the paintings, and I couldn't do it with the painting, and I got help from my father's friends who are meteorologists to replicate this process, and that's how I got involved with the cloud. Sorry, I'm...
No, it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much. And of course, already with the pavilion, you connected to the architecture, no, of the pavilion. And since then, you have done many folk pieces which connect to architecture. You connected to Herzog de Meuron, but you also connected here in Rien in such a magnificent way to Renzo Piano. Can you tell us a little bit how you react to a site, how you react to architecture?
I try to let the others speak, the nature speak, rather than try to explain myself the process. So I'm actually talking with the nature and trying to reveal what they want to say. So, well, I don't especially work with architecture, but I work with the environmental conditions.
But you do work with other people. You worked with Min Tanaka. There's a lot of collaboration you did with people. And of course, here you worked with artists as well. You worked with Philippe Parreno came to see you in Tokyo. And you collaborated. The fog and the tower are connected. You worked with Precious Okoyomon, connecting the greenhouse. Indirectly also with Thomas Schütte, because the sculpture of Thomas and the fog interact. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the collaboration?
Well, collaboration, it's interaction, and I always try to let the others speak, and so it's an interaction rather than collaboration. I don't know. I can't. I'm so scared of being on the stage.
Thank you, Fujiko. A big round of applause. And Cildo, we wanted to talk about, because we talked with Fujiko about, invisible forces. We talked about the fog and the visible and the invisible. And we wanted to talk about the way you work with sound as sculpture. And it's something which has played a very big role in your work since the 70s. And you have created here at the Beyeler Foundation a new work for our show called Alto. And it actually uses the voice, or brings in the voice of Iris Lettier, a Brazilian announcer who did the announcement, the voice for the Rio airport. And it has a lot to do with time. It's a piece which is a lot about time, and it also took 40 years from you hearing the voice to actually making the recording. Can you tell us about Alto and the genesis over 40 years? Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon to everybody. This is not the most comfortable situation for me. And after I met this guy, he made me talk like endlessly. But anyway, yes, I'm interested in sounds basically because I'm interested as well in materiality, invisibility. And of course, sound comes almost naturally. But the project here, in fact, started in 1977 as a note, and I spent almost 41 years until I could catch her, because she kind of disappeared from the radar. But finally, in 2018, we could know her. And then we did this. This is one of the three projects I did with her voice. I did before a record, Isto, a vinyl, in 2018, and then this one, which is the oldest project, and there is a third one that we may do it soon.
And can you talk about the project here? Because it's 4 speakers in the room, and I think the smallest speaker is almost emitting the strongest sound.
Yes, scale is also an issue that interests me very much. And here we have 4 speakers in a kind of paradox between the size and the volume of the sound that comes from it. And it's a very simple piece, and well, it's there.
We can all go and experience it after the talks. And you added, actually, when I, yesterday morning, came to the space, Isabella Mora pointed out to me that you had added something to the piece, which wasn't there a few days earlier. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it's very magical, because actually at the door, at the entrance to Cildo's piece, there is a meter on the left and a meter on the right. It also connects very beautifully to the Giacometti sculptures. Can you talk about that? Because he said it's almost like a caption to the piece.
This is the first time we put this piece, kind of experimental time for me. And these 2 folding rows didn't exist in the original notes, but I thought it would be very useful if we could show what the late reads and speak. And the idea was to have a caption of the origin of her talk.
And it reminded me also of the meters in Jan Hood's Documenta, yes, where you for the first time did a very big installation with these meters, and that also had a soundtrack.
Yes, in that case, it was a kind of, if you could see that piece from the above, you're going to see a double spiral, okay? And
and you mentioned also...
I used to say, I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. So it was something from the past. No, but I'll try to... And then if you could see also, in this plan, you would see, if there was no wall where the watch, the clocks were, you could see also the form of the Via Láctea. So, and the idea was this, to make it more concentrate at the center, in the way that as you walk into, and as you approach the center, if there was someone beside you, you couldn't see, only see the shoe, part of the shoe. And the piece was about to be alone in the universe, in fact. I wanted to materialize number, this idea of number.
And it is actually fascinating how many of your works connect with sound, and you also want to make records, and you did already records of some of these pieces. We worked with Isabella on a piece for the Lina Bobardi house, where you basically had the sound piece, and you said with Iris Lettier there is several other sound pieces you want to do, or you already did. Isto is this, and that's about disappearance, no?
Yes, that's why she says on the vinyl.
Yeah.
This is disappearing because with the contact between the needle and the vinyl,
yeah.
At one point you're gonna erase the voice.
And here we have the bell. This is in many ways a miracle because neither Fujiko nor Cildo ever do really panel discussions. So we have to be so grateful that they agreed to do this. And please give them a big round of applause. A big round of applause.